Okay, it seems I'm live. Just need to check if everything is working. My audio, my video. Let me know in the chat window if you can hear me properly and if you can see me properly. That's also important. And yeah. So we were supposed to go live yesterday, but then I was busy with something else. And today again, I was not able to go live. I was not feeling that good, but thought anyway we have postponed at the last session, so let's do it now. Even if it is for half an hour, let's do it. Okay, cool. So I can see a lot of people are joining, and then you are excited about the hackathon. That's right. So the hackathon is happening on this Saturday, and we got a lot of registration. A lot of people got the confirmation as well. Let me know in the chat window, have you received the confirmation if you have registered, and I will talk to my team to give you the confirmation soon. Okay. Okay, everything looks good. So yeah, so that's one thing. The hackathon is happening on this Saturday, and if you have not seen the hackathon video, make sure that you go to this channel and check out the hackathon video to understand more about the hackathon. And there is a form there as well if you want to register. And the amazing thing is the entire hackathon, you don't have to pay anything. It is free of charge. You can be there for 24 hours, free food, free Red Bull. And okay, I can't promise on Red Bull, but then yeah, food is free. There will be pizzas as well. Okay, Karthik says bus tickets are also booked. That's awesome, Karthik. In fact, I will be reaching Bangalore on Friday itself. So I'll be there in the morning for the hackathon. Cool. In fact, for everyone else, there is a 2 hours workshop in the morning. Okay. Uh, so even if you can't attend the hackathon, you can come for the workshop as well. Even that works. So if you think you're not good with blockchain, or if you don't want to spend 24 hours with us, there's a 2 hours workshop from 10 to 12. You can attend that workshop. But make sure that you fill the form. Of Oh, this is of this green color. Okay, that's weird. Yes, I was saying is you can attend the workshop as well. Cool. So now, what next? We have one more thing to announce, which is regarding the course. Yeah. So on this Saturday we are starting with the blockchain course, and for the first 1 month, if you have already enrolled this for you, the first 1 month we'll be spending on the front end part, the JavaScript, React, and then we'll jump towards the blockchain, right? So just wanted to give you the update. Cool. So now with that, let's start with this session. So today we have some interesting thing to talk about, and let me share my screen, and I'm doing that here. So basically the idea is to create a simple token. Of course, we're not going to create a full-fledged token. We are going to create a simple one so that you will understand how different variables and stuff works here. So we'll introduce you some new concept as well. And that's why I'm not sharing my face here, because I want to write on the screen as well, on the same screen. So we just did some experiment here. What if I want to show the code and as well as I want to write something on the screen? So I can actually do it here. So basically we'll try to create a token today, which will be a Telesco token. Okay. So yeah, let's get started. So let me clear my screen. Okay, cool. So basically, when you say token, what it means? So the way we have normal currencies, we can create our own cryptocurrency, not full-fledged here, but at least we can create a token which you can transfer to someone else. Anyway, we are getting multiple address, right? So when we tried in the last session, if you remember, we have seen Remix, in which we have multiple injectors, or we have multiple virtual machines. Now, the amazing thing is there had been some merged, I guess, with Ethereum, and then there's a change. Initially, it used to say JavaScript VM. Now it says Remix VM. So let's use that. So we'll be using Remix VM. Otherwise, you can also use Inject Provider. You can use Rinkibi or whatever favorite IDE you have, or favorite wallet you have. So I'm going to work with Remix VM, and you can see we have so many accounts to work with, and every account by default has 100 ethers here, but we are going to create our own token, right? Okay. Now, before we go ahead, we have a question from Prashant. I have joined for blockchain course and also will be attending hackathon. How to manage both? See, Prashant, the first session will be induction. Basically, we'll talk about what this course is all about and what are the things prerequisite for this course and what are the things you have to learn and those stuff. So you can actually attend this session later. Maybe you can rewatch the video, or during the hackathon, you can just attend this session. Even that works. So we'll keep the first session bit short, maybe 2 hours session on the first day, or 1.5 hour. Because that's just induction course. Okay, so basically we are creating our token, right? When it comes to token, there are certain things we need. Okay, so what is token? So example, we have our own token which you can send. You can create your own cryptocurrency. So we'll name this token as Telescope token, and here I can give a name to it. So I can say string, I can give a name, and let's say the name which I'm giving to my token is Telescope token. Of course, you can give any name, doesn't matter. Okay, Suri says, need more details about hackathon, can't find the video. Can you share the video link in the description, in the chat? So don't worry, we'll share the link of the video in the chat. Okay, so basically we are trying to create a Telescope token, not a full-fledged, but a simple one. Now, every token will also have a symbol. The way we have Ethereum as a token, we are creating our own token called Telescope token. And initially we'll not set any price for this, but let's say we have a token which you can transfer to someone else. And then we also need a symbol for it. So we'll set Tusk. In the initial days, we used to call Tusk as Telescope because if you can see, we have a short for that. We have T here and we have USK. In fact, there was a point when this channel was also named as there's a platform which we were building which is called Test Your Skills. Okay, so we can cut this into two parts, which is Test Your Skills, and if you can short this up, this is what you get. Tusk. Okay, but then anyway, so we are creating our own token, which is Telescope token, and the symbol is Tusk. And then for every token, when you put that into circulation, you have to also mention how many totals, what are the total supply of tokens you want. Of course, you can set the initial value here itself. So you can create a variable which is 256 type, and then we'll make it public so that we can read the data. And I will say total supply. You can set the value here itself. You can say 1000, or maybe you can set the value data. As of now, let me just keep it 1000, and then we can see how we can set the value data as well. At this point, I'm just setting the value. Okay. Now, once you have that ready, the next thing we can do is we can actually do the transfer. So by default, you can see we have multiple addresses here, right? So what I will do is, first of all, I will save this address here so that we can just copy it and use it. So the first token I want is for the contract token or contract address, because this is the contract. This is the address which I'm going to use for the deployment for assigning the initial tokens. So I can just copy this address and paste it here. We're going to use this as a contract address and say this is my first address. This is address 1 or the first user. I can give some names here, right? So we have Rehan in the chat. Let's have Rehan, and who else there's in chat? We also have Neha, and let's have one more. We have Prashant with H at the end. Okay. So let's say we have these three. We have Rehan, Neha, and Prashant. So let's set the first address. Okay, no, second address. The first address is for the contract. The second address is for Rehan. The third address is for Neha. And the fourth address is for Prashant. Okay, so we got this fourth address here. Cool. And now I want to transfer some amount between these people here. Now, the way you can do that, first of all, let me just deploy the contract as it is, the token here. So let me just say compiling done. So let me just go to my virtual machine and deploy this particular contract, which is my contract, and say deploy. And here you can see it is already deployed, and the only button you can see there is total supply, which is 1000. Okay, so we don't have to set the supply by ourselves. We have hard coded it here, but again, that's not a good idea. We can set the value as well. But then let's say we have done the hard coding, and now I want to transfer some amount. Okay, but then if you can see who has all the balance here. So if you see this contract, this particular address, the contract has how many, what's the balance of the contract? So we can check that, or there's no way to check the balance. We should have a button for the balance as well, right? And you can see there's no way to check the balance. So basically I want to create a balance variable for all the accounts here. Now, when you say you have most of the accounts, what we can do is we can have a key value pair. Example, the first account has 1000 tokens here. The second account has 0 tokens. The third account has 0 tokens, and fourth account has 0 tokens. So can I just create a key value where there will be an address for the contract, or there will be an address? Or there's no audio? You can hear me, right, everyone? Okay, so there should be an address, and I want to create something like this. So I want to have a key and a value pair. So basically this will be my address, and then colon, and this will be the number of tokens a person or an account has. Okay, so basically I want to get a key value, and which is your address and token. Okay, Surat says, please explain line number 16. There's no line numbers. It's empty. Which line are you talking about? Okay. Okay, Vinayak says, which software I'm using for blockchain? Basically, I'm using Remix here to do the code. Okay, so basically we want one more variable here, but this is for the mapping, right? Now, whenever you want to have a key value, basically we can use another type which is called mapping. Now, using mapping, you can have two things, a key and a value. So the key type, I want it to be address. Now, address is a special type, just like string, uint. This is that data type which can save the address of a particular account. So all these things are address. We can actually store those things in the address here. And with this address, I want to assign a number, which is the number of tokens they hold. So which is of type 256. So we have the total supply tokens. We are using 256. We'll use that here. And then we'll also provide a name to it. The name will be balance of. Of course, you can use any name, but this is a variable which is actually a map between two things. It has a key and a value. Key in this case is address, and the value here is this. And I want this to be public so that I can access it here. And now, after making the changes, what I will do is I will delete this contract and deploy it once again. And you can see in the new deployment contract, we have two buttons. One is for the total supply, which is 1000, and we have balance of. When you click on balance of course, we are not passing any value here. Let's get the balance of the first address, and you can see the first address has 0. Okay, why it is 0? It's because we have not assigned it to the first address. So you know what we can do? Instead of applying the supply here, we can create a method where you can provide the supply for the block for this particular token, and also will assign all the tokens to the first address. The way you can do that is you can create a function here, or maybe you can also hard code, even that works. But let's say create a function which is token supply, and we'll accept how many tokens you want to supply. Let's not hard code it. Let's say I want to accept the value from the user. So we'll say uint 256, and we'll say some number, tokens. I want this to be public so that I can call this. Now, you can call this token supply method by a function by passing a value, total number of tokens here, and you can assign those tokens to, let's say we have to two things. First, this variable which is token supply, and also the first contract. I want to assign the values to this contract, and the way you can do that is by assigning total supply. We can say total supply, which is my tokens. And then I also want to assign the address, this particular address, the total supply. So you can basically change the balance of for this address. So balance of in this square bracket, you have to mention whom you want to assign to. Now, basically, I want to call this function from the first contract itself. So how do I get the address of the calling contract? So basically, whoever is calling this function, I want to know who is calling it. So the way you can do that is by passing message dot sender. Now this is a special type of variable here, which is message, which will have multiple parameters. So if you want to know who is calling this particular function, message will give you those information, and one of the information is sender. Using this, you can actually get who is calling this particular function here, which is token supply. So whoever is calling it will be fetching their data, their address, and will assign the initial tokens, whatever token values we have. So basically, the moment you call this function, all the tokens will be assigned to this particular address. Let me show you that. So compilation done. Let me just delete this particular contract and deploy once again. And you can see we are getting multiple buttons now. One of them is total token supply. Total supply as of now is 0. And let's set the token supply, which is 1000. Or maybe this time let's go for 5000 just to have some different value. Now, when you click on token supply, just remember which contract or which account you are using to do that. So I want the first account to do that. So I will just click here and say token supply. And now if you see token supply, we have 5000. Now the first address here has around 5000 tokens. Let's verify that. Let's copy this address and click on balance of. Click, you can see we got 5000. So first account has 5000. Second account has 0. Third account has 0. The fourth account has 0. So total tokens, so whatever tokens we have created, all the tokens are there with the first account. Is it making sense till now? Just let me know in the chat window. Okay, still waiting for your reply. Maybe there's a latency on YouTube side. Cool. So now what I will do is so we got a token, right? Now I want to find a way to transfer this amount. Now the way you can do that is by creating a function. So we need a button here to transfer the tokens. So what we can do is we can create a function and we'll say transfer. Now this transfer will say, okay, so first of all, there will be a person who is calling this function. Okay, so the transfer, we need, so when you say transfer, we need three things, right? We basically need a sender, we basically need a receiver, and we also need the value. So what amount of tokens you want to transfer? So first you need a sender, you need a receiver, and you need a, okay, this is a receiver, and you need a value. Now the sender is someone who is calling this function. So whoever is calling the function is a sender. Now we can get that with the help of message.sender, because whoever is calling the function is our sender. Now the receiver, we can ask the user to mention, hey, who is the receiver? So we can save that in 2 variables. And value, we can create a variable called value as well. So basically we need 3 variables. The message.sender will get that by default because someone is calling the function. 2 we have to pass and value you have to pass. So this particular function transfer will need 2 variables, 2 and value. Okay, so let's do that quickly. So this transfer function will need 2 parameters. One is the type of address, to whom we want to send it, and what are the number of tokens you want to send. So we'll say 256 and maybe we can say value, total number of tokens. And I want this to be public so that I can access it from the outside. So public, open, close. And now what I want is, see, first of all, we can directly transfer, okay? So how do we transfer the tokens? It's very simple. You just need to subtract the number of tokens from the first address and add it to the second address. Whatever values you're passing there. Yeah, that's right. From, to, and value. So basically, from is someone who is calling this transfer, to is we got here, and value, the amount. Now, basically, we need to deduct the amount from the sender. We have to add the value to the receiver. And it's very simple, actually. You can just subtract the data from the balance. So you can say balance of, from the sender, from the sender, we can subtract the value. How many values you want to subtract? That is depend upon the value. And we can add the same amount in the receiver. So we can say balance of who is the receiver, which is 2, and we'll add that in their account. How much? The same value. So whatever we are deducting from the sender, we are adding that into receiver. It is that simple. Cool, right? And let's see if that works. Let me just, oh, there's an error here. Why there's an error? Did you mean balance? Oh, this capital O. Cool. And now this should work. Let's say, okay, we have to deploy that once again. Let me remove this part. And I will be deploying it from the first contract itself every time I do that. So deploy. And if you expand this, you can see we have these buttons now. Total supply is 0. Let's apply 5,000 tokens again. And okay, let's verify if the first account received all the tokens. That's right. And second account, how many tokens we have in the second account? You can see we have 0. But now what I want to do is I want to transfer something to the second account. So Rehan, you don't have any tokens now, but I will transfer. So you have to go to transfer function and mention that address. But you have to pass two variables. First is the address, give a comma, and also mention the number of tokens you want to transfer. Let's say I want to transfer 250 tokens. So I'm transferring 250 tokens from the contract to Rehan here. So what I will do now is I will click on transfer. But then when you do that, you have to make sure that you are on the contract and say transfer. I guess done. Let's see the balance of the Rehan. Rehan, you got 250 tokens now. Let's verify from the first contract. Balance of the first contract, you can see it's 4,750. So that's how you can basically transfer this. Is it making sense, everyone? If it is making sense, hit that like button, everyone. Okay. Now this looks cool, right? Basically, we are able to transfer. But there's one more thing here. What if Rehan wants to transfer the amount to Neha? Now in this case, if Rehan wants to transfer, so we have to go to Rehan's account first. So this is the Rehan's account address. And then we need to transfer that to Neha. So we'll address say, okay, transfer the amount to Neha. And how many tokens we can transfer? Now Rehan has only 250 tokens, right? What if Rehan is transferring 300 tokens? Now at this point, if you do that, if you click on transfer, there is an error. Okay. Oh, sorry, there was 2 variables I'm passing. So I'm transferring 300 tokens. And when you click on transact, there is an error. Transfer error occurred. Okay, so that's the issue, right? So we got the error because we are transferring more than the required value. So basically this will give an issue. So what you can also do is you can actually check before transferring. So how do we check something? So we can use something called a require function. So we can use something called require here, which looks at a condition. So you can do this operation only when the number of tokens Rehan has is more than what he's transferring. So I can say message.sender and we can check. Okay, we can, for that we have to first use a balance of message.sender. This should be greater than or equal to the value. So whatever value you are passing, it should be less than the balance. So we can do that here. Okay, so that's one thing we have added. In fact, I want to do one more thing here, which is, see, whatever transaction you're doing, you are transferring the data, right? But don't you think all this data should be logged in the blockchain? And that's the beauty of a blockchain, right? It manages all the data. So whatever transaction you're doing, you want to log them on the blockchain. And nowhere we are doing it. We are changing the data, we are changing the variables here, but nowhere we are maintaining the logs. The way you can do that is by creating an event. Now, since we want to do it for the event or for the transfer, let's create an event which will help us to log on the blockchain. And we'll say transfer, bracket open and close. Now, what are the data you want to log? So basically, I want to log all the data, who is sending it, to whom we are sending it, and the value. So who is type of address. So we can say from, then address again, to whom, and the value. So values of type uint256, and you can say value. So this is the data which I want to log basically. And the way you can do that is by going to your function and saying, how do we call the event? It's very simple. You use something called emit. Now, this looks like a normal function, but this is not a normal function. This is an event. Now, if you are familiar with event-driven programming, basically we observe stuff based on the events. So whenever there's an event, it will try to log it. So once you know you have done the transfer, just emit the event, or you're calling an event. So how do we do that? It's very simple. You say emit, you mention the event name, which is transfer. And in this bracket, you mention those three values, which is the sender, message.sender, then to whom you are sending, and the value which you are sending. Simple stuff. Yeah, this looks cool. Anything we can add here? So we have added two things here, which is require. So make sure when you transfer, your balance should be more than what you are transferring. Of course, if your bank balance is 10,000 rupees, you can't transfer more than 10,000 rupees, right? So that's a require. And once you do this transfer, we are also emitting the event so that this will be logged in the transaction. So what I will do now is I will just redeploy this contract. And okay, compilation done, deploy. And this time you can see we have the same buttons. Total supply is 0. Let's set the total supply and we'll do that from the first account. Total supply is 5,000. And I want to transfer some amount to Rehan first. So again, we'll do that same thing. Rehan, you will be receiving around 250 tokens. Transfer. Let's verify the account of Rehan, 250. And now Rehan, which is second account, will be transferring some amount to Neha. And in this case, if I say transfer, how many tokens you want to transfer? Let's say this time 100. Transfer done. And let's verify the balance of Rehan first, which is 150. Let's verify the balance of Neha, which is 100, because Rehan has transferred 100 tokens to Neha. And let's also verify for Prashant. Prashant is poor here in this case. You can see Prashant has 0. So maybe Rehan can send some more tokens to Prashant. So let's say Rehan is sending how much? 120 tokens. Transfer balance. You can see now Prashant got 120 tokens and Rehan has 30 tokens. And all these are actually logged in this. So if I go to this event, this is transfer, I guess. You can see that we are logging everything. We are logging from, then the event, which is transfer. In this event, we have from, to, and value. So from this address to this address, we are transferring 120 tokens. Is it making sense? Okay, so certain things to remember. Of course, we'll expand this example more later. We'll also create a UI and maybe try to complete a complete token. As of now, we have dealt with very simple stuff. So we got a token here, which is the Talisco token. We got a name to it. We got a symbol, which is task. And then we got a total supply. Now we need event because we want to put data on the blockchain, some transactions. And then we are mapping the data for the address and the value, how much token a particular address has. This is for the initial token supply, and this is for the transfer. A very simple code. Okay, where's the hash value for the transaction? Yeah, that's here. Okay, so I will try to go live tomorrow as well with some advanced example. It's just that on Friday I have to travel to Bangalore for the hackathon. Let me try to do the live as well. And people who have registered for the hackathon, give high five on the chat. Okay, yeah, that was a short session today. So if you're coming from the hackathon, give a high five. If you have already enrolled for the blockchain course, you can find the link in the chat on top. You can give a thumbs up. And people who are coming to hackathon, see you there. I will be coming there on Friday itself. So see you in the hackathon, everyone. Oh, Prashant is giving the high five. Nice. And trust me, even if you're not able to understand blockchain, come for the hackathon, you will enjoy the vibe. Provided we have number of seats left. So make sure that you register. And once you get the confirmation, please attend. Okay, awesome. So that's it from this session. You can rewatch this session. This is very simple. And see you in the hackathon, everyone. Bye-bye.